as far as MRC events go, we consider this as a room full of attendance. We love seeing all your faces here this morning. I would like to just quickly make a note that our colleague is Gary Holder Winfield. I apologize for the typo made in my office. It's Holder Winfield, so let's make sure that we correct. Actually, in the program, it is correct. My gosh, this is a difficult task to do, to introduce Teresa Younger, someone that I consider to be a very a colleague that I can count on. In fact, Teresa has been at Permanent Commission on Status of Women for a little bit less than 3 years. It's 3 years. Okay, she's been here 3 years. But I have to tell you that ever since she arrived, almost every corner I turn, I see Teresa. In the state, she makes her presence very, very visible, and she's out there in the communities. I happen to serve on the advisory board for the One for Women and Girls of the Greater New Haven Community Foundation. Well, I went to one of our events, signature events. There was Teresa speaking, and I went to some other events in the Hartford, and there was Teresa showing up. And then most recently, I'm very, very happy to share with you that Teresa, Ginny Metaxas, and I both, all three of us serve on the Board of Trustees of Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame. And Teresa is one of our newest members, along with Ginny Metaxas. So this is definitely a sister, a colleague, someone that you actually work with on so many issues concerning social justice, race, class, gender, and so on and so forth. And I don't actually, there's a long bio of Teresa right here, but I just want to share with you that it's amazing that she's here this morning. She just let us know that she had a very, very long and hard week with the budget cut from the Capitol. Her office is being severely impacted. In fact, she has to let people go. And yesterday, I think we both had a very, very long day. I didn't get home until 11 o'clock. I don't know what time you got home, but she was here with us, sharing with us ideas about triumphs and challenges in doing diversity work. And with the current climate, and I have to say we're in a very interesting time. We post-racial. And Teresa will help us explore some of these thoughts and will hopefully provoke a lot of discussion with all of us. And maybe I will just, I don't want to be ceremonial reading through the bio, but why don't we just, I will leave the reading to you, and Teresa will, probably the best introduction is from herself. So let's welcome Teresa Younger.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for inviting me here today, Trish, and it's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'd like to thank President Norton and Provost Williams for those lovely comments of welcome to come to be with you today. I come to this conversation not as an academic, but much more as a realist in conversations go. I oftentimes am asked to speak on a variety of topics, and they have most recently tied around gender. But I won't go too far in confirming. Is anybody hearing that? Oh, that's okay. I thought it was my phone. I was like, I had spent about 5 years working for the American Civil Liberties Union. And during that experience, I actually, just prior to that, had spent 10 years working in youth development, working with inner city youth. Left working in youth development so that I could work at the ACLU and work on juvenile justice and reproductive rights issues. That is the reason why I went to the ACLU. And then we had 9/11. And 9/11 changed the work that I was doing. In college, I was a Peace Studies, Religious Studies, Women's Studies major, and I graduated with a degree in recreation. So, I share this with you because it gives you a little bit of the background by which I'm approaching this topic. The topic of are we a post-racial society, I think is very interesting. And I will just start it out by saying that I have banned my husband from watching the morning news. Because the question that is put before us as a standard question today is one that we are seeing shown to us constantly in front of us. Are we a post-racial society? No. I'm much about straight talk, so what you're going to get today is a little bit of straight talk on this topic. In fact, when I was writing my comments, I thought this is a closed-ended question, so we all teach everybody you should never ask a closed-ended question because you get a yes or no answer. So rather than go with a one-word answer, I hope nobody's offended when I say, are we a post-racial society? I'll say, hell no, because then I get 2 words in that answer. Let's first talk about the definition of post-racial, because I think we just need to understand how I'm interpreting the words. When we say post-racial, I oftentimes think of it in its most basic form, in that we are talking about a society in which race no longer is significant or important. And I put those 2 words together because I think it's good to understand what we are saying. It's neither significant or important. It means that we are leaving off so much of our own history when we do that. To say that we are beyond race because we have a black president is saying that we are is saying that all women are equal because we have a governor that is female. And I will tell you that is just not the case. Obama won the 2008 elections because he was able to mobilize 95% of African Americans, 2/3 of all Latinos, and a large portion of young people under the age of 30. At the same time, what was generally forgotten is that in the exuberance of the assessment of his win, the majority of white Americans voted for John McCain and Sarah Palin. So when we talk about being a post-racial society because we have a black president, we know that's got to be the misnomer. In fact, a wonderful New York Times columnist, Bob Herbert, may have said it best in his column on September 18th. He said, "I have no patience with those who pretend that racism is not an out-and-out big deal in the United States. As it always has been. We may have made progress and we may have a black president, but the scourge is still upon us. And if you've needed Jimmy Carter to remind you of that, then you've been wandering around with your eyes closed." I was mentioning to your president before I was on my way in here that my grandmother always says when you reach the age of 70, you get to say whatever you want to say and you don't have to apologize for it. I thought it was interesting that it was an 85-year-old president who had to point out to us the things that we were saying behind closed doors. I was saying them in the middle of meetings, but I think most of us were basically understanding that the conversation that was going on was racist. The heightened levels of criticism that were going on are stemmed in racism. When a majority of white people did not vote for the current president, it means that we have going on in this country what we know, which is people of color and women are making up the greatest majority of decision makers in this country. It makes people very uncomfortable to really come to terms with that. In fact, I honestly believe that the conversation about whether the president should have the opportunity to speak to high school and elementary school students was not based on anything other than the fact that you have a black man, educated, putting together sentences and empowering